That looked really good too. I think that one dropped in. I'm not going to let you shoot an apple off my head at 100 yards, but
No,
I think those were pretty good.
I wouldn't try it. Not with a friend.
We know a few people who you can try it with.
Yeah.
One of the things that came up here that I think is worth us visiting about is there was a couple times where you hit full draw and it was too windy and you weren't able to get the shot off during a certain amount of time, so you let back down again and waited. You know, and rather than waiting at full draw for the wind to let up and then trying to shoot, you knew that you were going to be more accurate if you came off the shot and then, you know, came back into it.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a topic I think that's probably a little bit less relevant for bow hunters, because a lot of times our timing is controlled by the animal, but probably more relevant for an archery hunter or archery shooter because they control the timing normally. Yeah. So how long do you feel like it takes you to get a shot off, and do you have a sweet spot where if it goes beyond a certain amount of time you feel like you have to start over again?
Well, there's two parts to that I want to touch on. One is it still does relate to the bow hunter, because what I find is how you practice is ultimately that's imprinting. It's imprinting a habit. So if you're forcing yourself to make poor shots when nothing's at stake, then you're going to probably make a poor shot when something is at stake. So really learning to practice with a purpose and learning to imprint good shots, you know, the vast majority of the time is gonna really pull you through those moments where your adrenaline's going, you really don't know what you're doing.
Right.
But when it comes to what I look for when I'm aiming is I just find that from the moment when I'm ready to raise my bow and really start that shot, it's normally about 8 to 12 seconds if I'm really in a cadence and in a rhythm. Because what I like to do is, you know, I like to draw back and anchor and come into my peep sight. And from that moment, I'm almost not drawing air and letting air out. I'm just letting my body absorb that oxygen, and then I'm slowly letting that out. So it's, you know, it's really within, I would say, two-thirds of that time is really me trying to settle and pull through. And once I get beyond maybe 7-8 seconds of aiming, I'm pretty much depleted of oxygen. I feel like I need to take a breath. My vision maybe isn't as good, or I'm starting to move more, and at that point, no shot is a better shot to me, you know, at least in practice mode.
Right. So and I did a quick study on this once where I did some searches on the internet about concentration and how long a person can concentrate. Specifically, I'm thinking, of course, about applying that to archery, like how long should I be at full draw? Yep. How long should I be aiming? And the magic number seemed to come up pretty often was about 7 seconds. That the average person who's untrained can concentrate on one thing well for about 7 seconds. And then, you know, you have to restart, you know, pull out and come back into it again, or do something to break it up, because you're going to your brain is going to start losing its ability to stay locked. So, I mean, that always stuck in my head as the maximum aiming time for me. You know, if I can't get my shot off within 7 seconds, you know, normally I'll just shoot within 7 seconds because there's nothing at stake typically. Yeah. I'm just practicing in the yard.
Yep.
But I think if I was, you know, in a more competitive situation, I would be really probably watching that more closely and saying my shot has to fall between 4 and 7 or whatever.
Yeah, and really the archers that get into a zone or get into their rhythm and their cadence, if you sat there and actually clocked really good high level archers, I think you would probably find that consistency is, it's almost like you would think they were touching the trigger off because it was so consistent, but the reality is they're seeking a completely unanticipated shot each and every time, but it's just natural that when you're in that flow state it's going to happen.
Right. Okay, that's good. Well, let's go up and look at how this group did for
I'm
you.
ready to eat, so this is going to be my last
you've not only depleted your oxygen level, you've depleted all of your
nutrient level.